welcome on back. We're glad you could make it to check out the adventures of Rocky Road and Tank Bicep already in progress. We return the keys to you, the listener, as you gear up to get ready to enter the wonderful world of Bigfoot and the muscle machines. Enjoy!
All right, so picking up from Yank's best tirade ever, there's a thing that I didn't 100% understand. So at this point, they're like driving through cornfields or wheat fields or some kind of agricultural fields in Oklahoma. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
Right.
What does matter is that there's like giant combines. So like these massive farming implements with like these crazy big wheels of death on the front of them, basically, that like take up the entire road. And somehow all the trucks kind of get like penned in from four sides. And I don't understand what happened next.
I don't either. Because
okay, good. I want to make sure I wasn't the only one.
Because this, again, like we've mentioned, like we stated at the beginning of this episode. We warned you
guys.
It makes no sense. Again, we have Hank jumping out, grabs
that trusty winch,
grabs that line, throws it onto one of the combines.
Is that what it was? Because it looked like just like a tower in the middle of the field, and I was just like,
I thought because of the angle of the shot.
Okay, that would make more sense.
It looked like it was the front of one of the combines, like reapers.
Okay, that would make sense. Look at you knowing your farm implements, Hank Bicep.
Trying as much as I can.
Tank Bicep. Sorry, Hank's your brother.
Tank. So he pulls this, with the winch that's on the back of Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And it only crumples the front of one combine.
Right.
But then suddenly,
like a domino effect,
other three that are around him just all explode.
I could see it if like one was like turned on an angle and ran into the other, which then forced the other to hit the next one. But like the conservation of momentum, at some point, you're not just gonna go around in a circle. But regardless, that's what happened. I'm not gonna. Because what happens next is even crazier.
Judge because it made no fucking sense.
Okay, cool. I think it's fair to judge it, but it's just not.
Yeah.
It's not worth it because what happens next is one of the most random moments of this entire sequence. Because if you were listening in the beginning, we mentioned all the characters that were going to show up. One of them, the one I said with possibly the best name, has not shown up yet. He does show up in the nick of time, though.
Yeah.
Lending to his name, Close McCall.
Close McCall.
Were you smitten with Close McCall there, buddy? Were you smitten?
No, not really.
I don't blame
you. I'm aware because of the cartoons that we watch and the structure that they adhere to.
Yeah.
That when a character shows up and is just like, "Hey, how y'all doing?" And Yank is like, "We don't really need anybody else in our crew. We've pretty much solidified the team. It's 2 redheads, a black professor, and a white racist.
And a dead armadillo.
And an armadillo." And a weird woman that we picked up on the side of the road.
A weird ninja woman that runs like a machine.
Like
she runs like a deer.
Yeah. This is who we're working with. This is who we're comfortable with. So adding in another person to this group, it's feeling like it's too much right now. And he's like, and like, what would your response be if you were just like, "Oh man, I love cars. Y'all love cars. We should get together, talk about cars and the things that we do. Because this is our passion, right? This is what we are." No, son. If you could just get the hell out of here, that'd be much appreciated. Like, how would you respond to that?
Well, I love that this guy's just like, I'm just like a guy by the name Close McCall, drive my hot rod warlord through the fields of Oklahoma. I just happened upon your mass destruction of these here 4 combines. I thought I'd lend a hand. And the redheads love him. At least one of the redheads is like gaga over him.
Yeah.
Wants to have his little redheaded, not real bright babies. And Yank's just like, "No, I don't want anything to do with this. Take off." And he's like, "Well, all right then. I'll see you later. I'm just gonna take off and warlord. We'll go hit the road." What? Why did you show up?
It's the most positive exchange of, "I'm here to help y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all are already out of your pickle. Y'all want me to stick around? No? All right. Well, talk to y'all later.
All right. Have a good one.
All right. Have a good day.
Woo. Woo." He's basically like if you were pulled over on the side of the road with like a flat or like you ran out of gas. And somebody pulled over, he's like, "Hey, you got car trouble? Anything I can help you out with?" And you're like, "No, I already called AAA. They're on the way. Everything's going to be fine. My dad's coming. It's all good." "All right, then. You have a nice day. I'll see you later." Like, not trying to murder you. Not trying to rob you.
Just being a nice citizen.
Just a nice guy in a hot rod in a cornfield.
Yeah. With Warlord.
With Warlord. I mean, come on, man. That's the name of your car is Warlord. What are you doing?
If it had been something like even worse, like Murder Spree.
Yeah, something.
Or like Fuck, Marry, Kill. You were like, what is the guy?
It's like, hey,
what is going on with
my
this
name's
dude?
Close McCall. I got my hot rod over here, Holocaust, and just thought I'd stop in, see if y'all need a hand. No, you good? We're gonna hop on down the road now. Have a nice day.
Don't worry. Oh, me? I'm Close McCall. This car over here, euthanasia.
Oh God.
You're just like, what the fuck is going on here? This dude could not be kinder and gentler, and he is in a car that is called Warlord.
He's the worst warlord ever.
Oh,
but
God.
don't worry, he will make an appearance later on. He and one of the Reds get it on the back of Warlord. I think that was in a deleted scene. I'm not sure if we actually see that or not, but
Yeah, I imagined it in my head, and I'm cool with that.
yeah, I'm totally cool with that. Rule 34, you can probably find it out there. Now, okay, so Warlord and Close McCall took off. Down the road piece, guess who's waiting for our truck driving team?
Who is it? Is it the cops?
Is it a shitload of cops? Yeah.
It
Is it
is.
the entire department of bumfuck Oklahoma, wherever they are? Yes. And they're literally all hiding behind a billboard, which was my favorite thing.
That's so good.
Yeah, the typical kind of like speeding down the highway, cop waiting behind the billboard, pulls you over. Except when they pulled him over, the rest of the entire department were there waiting for him, and they arrest him. They read him like some fake-ass Miranda rights that they're too stupid to actually read, which was funny.
It was amazing the fact that they butchered the Miranda rights,
deputy,
in that sense. I would have been like, this is pretty much grounds for this to get thrown out.
See, now at this point, because they're a team, I would have felt much better if all the white people on the team would have looked at Professor D and just been like, this is going to go poorly for you. But they did not seem to care. They didn't see, they're in Oklahoma. It's an entire force of white cops. I'm like, this is not going to go good for poor Professor D.
It didn't actually really seem like it went well for any.
No, it didn't go. I'll tell you what, it didn't go worse for Professor D than anybody else, so he's totally fine. So at least these guys, they're not cartoon racists. They're just in the pocket of Ravenscroft at this point. Now, here coming up, and I know we're hitting like a lot of these points, and it sounds kind of like we're hitting every beat. We kind of are, because this is like nonstop action, cartoon zaniness, and some of the best one-liners you'll ever hear. Do you have another one from Yank?
Oh my God, do I?
Yeah, you got this one.
This is when he is in his prison cell.
Yeah, they're in jail, and the cops are tearing apart their trucks, right? Looking for the map.
They are just searching. They're searching the car for this map. They're searching the car, and Yank is standing, looking out of his cell, fuming.
What's he upset about?
How fucking dare you touch Bigfoot, my monster truck?
Yeah.
And this is the line that comes out of his mouth.
With his like steely-eyed gaze at the cops that are tearing apart his truck. Yeah.
Laser focus. He just says, "How come I never have a hand grenade when I need one?" What the fuck?
What sane, level-headed person says this?
Yo, who thinks to themselves, man, if I had a hand grenade right now, it would do worlds of difference for my current situation.
I'll tell you who thinks that. Yank Justice.
Yank Justice.
Boy. A hand grenade. I don't know what he wanted to do.
YJ.
A good old YJ. Get him the old YJ. I don't know what he would have done with a hand grenade.
Because
honestly,
if he would have presumably thrown it down at the person who was like searching his vehicle, it would have done the following.
Yep.
It would have murdered another person because he's super good at murder so far.
Yeah, real good at murder.
All right? Mm-hmm. It would have destroyed, presumably, Bigfoot, which as we've learned, is one of the three things that he's really super passionate about.
Loves it.
The other thing is, it would have presumably exploded, blown up, and possibly burned the map that was in there that he has already stated he's invested so much time and energy into this. He's just like, I'm going to see this through because I've already done so much work. Like, a hand grenade would not have solved anything in this situation.
You know what else it would not have done? Would not have gotten him out of their fucking jail cell, hence complicating his third love in life, freedom. Because you just murdered everyone that could let you out of a jail cell and you're stuck inside it. Why do you need a hand grenade? How about a key? How come I never have a lockpick when I need
Guys,
one?
because this guy is in charge of this team. He is the leader of this team.
Yank Justice.
And they're all sitting behind him, and they're just like, yeah, you know what? We really should have gotten Yank that hand grenade when we were back in Vegas.
We should have stocked up. We're fresh out.
He was really eyeing up that hand grenade like as one of the prizes that they had in one of those casinos. We should have gotten him the hand grenade.
Look,
guys.
I also love this part. So, like you said, the line, "How come I never have a hand grenade when I need one?" It sounds like he said this before. Like he's been in a situation where he's like, "Fuck, once again, hand grenade could have solved this whole thing." What?
Like, this is what kills me.
Yeah.
All right, is that I would watch an entire series of Yank Justice with hand grenades, like a man bag full of fucking hand grenades.
I see. Now I want to watch the series where Yank Justice keeps getting into scrapes and never has a hand grenade, because I want to see how he MacGyvers his way out of it without one.
See, I'm the opposite.
Okay.
I want him in easy situations, but he has
he just has a shitload of hand grenades.
He has a shit ton of they got my name wrong on this Starbucks order. Could have fixed it with a hand grenade.
Nicely done. Hand grenades. I can't wait to use this line like at the DMV. Nah, it's probably a bad idea. I'll be arrested.
Yeah, don't use this line.
But then I'll be arrested, and then I'll say it again once I'm in jail, and then people will leave me alone in jail because you're obviously insane. And when you try to explain it like, no, this is from a cartoon show, they'll be like, this motherfucker crazy. Listen to my podcast from jail.
Smuggle a phone inside your butt and then listen to me on iTunes.
Yeah, I can't wait to record our first podcast that's partially from jail, either Sean or myself or a special guest.
You are going to prison before I am.
That's great. It'll be like Johnny Cash.
That would not be a good thing.
Except he was there voluntarily and then could leave.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But like, if you're in prison, I'm going to have to break you out of prison.
Oh, okay. Because I don't have a hand grenade. We've established that.
Presumably, what would be a good time for me to break you out of prison?
A good time?
Would it be like 8 o'clock?
8 o'clock probably sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it sounds good.
That's exactly what we have. We have Close McCall sort of impersonating a cop at some point.
I don't know really what his plan was there.
And so he's sort of just like, he kind of like, as he's arresting Red and Redder, doesn't he's just like, hey, what time should I pick you ladies up? Would 8 o'clock be okay? And you're like, wait, what? Is he this character? Is he this cop? Is he impersonating a cop?
Oh, I 100% missed this, to be honest with you. I saw him point at his watch, but I was just kind of like, I don't know what's happening at this point.
I was like, is he telling them, like, be aware at 8 o'clock, I'm going to break you out of jail?
Pretty much. But at this point, like, Jennifer she's already kind of like made a deal, right? So she's trying to get all her buddies out of prison. She's like, all right, I'm going to go with Sly. I'm going to translate the map for him. But that's when Close McCall and Warlord show up again and basically do the old bust you out of the hoosegow, which was kind of sweet. I do like that. Did he not just drive directly through like a cinder block wall with his car?
Yeah,
was that his plan? Okay, I wanted to make sure that's what it was.
Let's be very clear.
Yeah.
If you think this show is going to go beyond a plan of let me drive my car into my problem, you are sorely mistaken on every level.
Oh, and it gets crazier. You guys can't even begin to imagine where this goes from here.
The solution to every problem, according to Yank Justice,
is either hand grenade
or just drive at full force your monster truck into that fucking problem. And that's it.
Problem solved.
That's all there is.
Is it a person? Problem solved. Is
Don't
it a building?
care.
Problem solved.
Problem solved. Is it a concept that's intangible that I can't actually grasp?
Is it terror?
Problem solved.
That's right. Take that, terror. If only we had monster trucks.
Oh my god.
I love the fact though that Jennifer, by going and helping out the evil guys, has now gotten herself in more trouble because they busted the other guys out of a separate jail cell from where she was being held. So she's still under lock and key, and they're all busted free. And Yank's like, son of a bitch, I guess I got to save this broad too. So what does he do? He's reunited with Bigfoot now. How does he save her?
Doesn't she jump down?
Well, he uses his good old towing hook and basically like pulls the section of wall out from this shoddily made jail cell. Just pulls the wall, and then she jumps like 2 stories. I don't know why she's on a 3rd floor.
In the defense of this shittily made prison,
yes.
All right, Close McCall has already damaged the structural integrity.
All right, that
was a load-bearing wall
that
he ran into.
That's right. So the shit's coming down.
And so suddenly we have Jennifer, because we've already established she's fantastic at being a ninja.
Uh-huh.
She jumps 2 stories down into Yank's arm, and it's just like
kind of liking it at this point.
She's like, that was exhilarating.
That was
You're
exhilarating. Oh shit! Something's happening in his pants. Yeah. Anyway, so at this point, they're all back in their hot rods, their Bigfoots, their whatever, their Orange Blossom Special. Professor D, I'm sorry, dude, you're just the worst. You don't do anything.
He is the best character on this show. You know why? Because he just does what's necessary. I don't need exposition or he doesn't showboat. He doesn't have to.
He's a well-dressed man.
Fucking professor.
That's right.
Bomb-ass suit. Sweet-ass ride.
Weird choice in companions, but that's fine. Armadillo.
We all make weird choices.
So at this point, they're all back in their trucks, and they literally just like outrace the cops. So they're in their monster trucks, but they are outracing the cops. Which
not only do they outrace the cops, they jump a bridge, are on the other side.
Well, let me say
Bigfoot
before
goes in the water.
Ah, damn it! You got to it before I could.
No, do it. Go.
Well, they have this great line that I think is not like an actual factual at all. I think it's Professor D, smart man of the team, who's basically like, if we get across that bridge, the cops' jurisdiction ends, so they can't chase us anymore. 100% inaccurate. Cops will do whatever the fuck they want.
He has a map.
He does have a map of cop districts.
That's county lines for where they
Professor D's like, I've been through this shit before. I got these folks on lockdown. I know where they end. They cannot cross this bridge.
Now, let's be honest, all right?
Yeah.
We're introduced to Professor D, but we have no idea what his credentials
were.
Why
he's got a tweed jacket. That's all I know.
I feel like this is something like when somebody uses a title incorrectly.
Right.
And they're just like, well, it sticks, and I like it, so I'm just not going to dispute anybody about it. Like, it's not like he has his diploma inside of his monster truck.
He might, right on the roof.
On display, like where you would have a gun rack inside of it. He doesn't. He's not. He doesn't need to brag about what he's doing. He doesn't need to talk. He doesn't need to wax poetic in any way, shape, or form. He's just there. He's doing his thing. Like, he is present and he is helpful.
Look, I hope that Yank and Professor D met up because Professor D was teaching a class on monster trucks and hand grenades, and I hope that they just kind of hit it off. Professor of monster trucks and hand grenades.
Well, I mean, like, you realize the exposition that leads him to this, like, in the first place is this, like, the first time that we're introduced to that initial stadium, something like 34 minutes ago now at this point.
Yeah. Our show tonight will be longer than this entire series run, by the way.
Damn it. They have this moment where they're introducing Professor D, and they say that he used to be a professor, but then he was smitten by the life of monster trucks.
I forgot about that.
What the fuck?
He's smitten.
What? How can a tenured professor be drawn away from that kind of a life?
I'll tell you what, kids are shitty these days, so I can kind of understand why they're just like, you know what, I'm just going to hang it up. Fuck these kids. I'm just going to drive monster truck until I die. Get an armadillo on the way.
I lost it. Like,
I love it. It just keeps getting crazier. So crazy.
Because you have to realize in this moment, okay, Bigfoot has landed in the water.
Okay, so it's a bridge, and they say the jurisdiction ends there, but then it's a drawbridge, obviously. So I think the sheriff just like rings up the guy who's operating the bridge, and he's like, "Raise it, motherfucker, or I'm gonna shut down your poker game." Great line. So the guy does. So obviously the trucks have to jump the bridge. But yeah, go ahead. So what happened to Bigfoot?
So Bigfoot goes in the water.
Yeah, misses terribly.
Underwater.
Yeah.
All right. Mr. Sly is like, he's standing next to a cop at this point, and the cop is just like, "Whoo, we did it, we got him." Mr. Sly's like, "No, we didn't. Look at the water.
Yeah,
look at the water."
Dum-dum.
Suddenly, Bigfoot just launches up out of the water like it's a Jesus truck, and it's just walking on top of it.
Well,
like,
you know what it is? It's from those North Korean propaganda cartoons we talked about, where it's just the military's technology for floating tanks. So they've applied it to Bigfoot, and now everything in the world makes sense.
Guys, in this moment, I want to be very clear about this, all right? In this moment, All right. The officer who's in charge, all right, commands the rest of the officers to commandeer a riverboat. I want to be very clear about this. I want to be very clear about this because this is not going to make any sense in 3 seconds.
Nope.
Okay. So a police officer in charge
on the land.
All right. A police officer in charge on the land tells the rest of his subordinates to commandeer a riverboat. All right.
As it's moving down river. It's not just like stationed at the dock. This fucker's moving.
No. It is in motion. So these cops climb to the top of the drawbridge, jump down into the riverboat, commandeer the boat from the captain of the riverboat, to which they say, "We are newly deputized and we can do whatever we want." Which, let's go back and think about this. They're cops to begin with. They weren't newly deputized in anything.
I love that that's the part of this whole thing that gave you pause.
Like, I'm sitting there and I'm just like, there's no reason for that. Like, they just jumped down presumably 20 feet.
Oh, they're dead.
Unscathed. They're dead. They're dead.
It's like that Lethal Weapon. Was it Lethal Weapon? Lethal Weapon movie?
Was it?
The second one? They did that anyway. Die Hard. My apologies. Moving on.
Okay. But like, they
commandeered a riverboat is the part that gave me pause.
Yeah, they commandeer this riverboat to then give pursuit to Bigfoot, who again is just walking on water.
Yeah, just churning that water. Now look, if you're gonna introduce the fact that Bigfoot and like the big air inflated tires, whatever, can float on water, sure, whatever, cartoon, I'll give you that. That's fine. What happens next, however, completely throws that fact away. So it's like, well, forget that we used to float, because as the riverboat creeps up on them, fast fucking riverboat, by the way, tries to like submerge them under the water, because it's just like riding up on the ass end of Bigfoot and trying to push them down into the water. So at this point, what's a Yank to do?
He just continues to drive, and then he launches out of the water onto the land.
Well, but he first says, he's like, well, if they're going to push us down, there's got to be a bottom to this river. And he just sinks to the bottom of the river. What? And then, just guns it. Don't worry about that engine being flooded. You're fine. Guns it. And then launches out on the land. And then the riverboat does what?
It runs aground.
These stupid
just
cops.
Immediately stalls out and dies.
These stupid cops. They run the riverboat into the ground. And then the captain, who's sitting there and he's just kind of shaking his head, he's like, I knew they didn't know what they were doing. Like, not upset. Just kind of like, well, boys will be boys.
Well, we should mention the best part about the riverboat running aground is that the 3 cops that are standing on deck are thrown out of the boat.
Oh, they're dead.
Out of the boat.
They have all broken necks.
They're all dead.
And that captain's like, well, boys will be boys with broken necks. and Sly is back on land, but he's super upset about this. But at this point, he still has the secret location that Jennifer gave him. Except she actually gave him the wrong address.
You got, son.
You got. Now, where did she send him? Because it looked like, because of the editing, it looked like she literally sent him back to the same mansion that this all started with.
I think so.
Now, I don't know if they grabbed him on the way and were just like, you dumb, you fucked up.
She is... Now, let's be clear. It looks like they brought Mr. Sly back to the palatial mansion that Jennifer was running away from in the beginning that is in Oregon State.
Yeah.
We are now in Oklahoma. They are now back in Oregon State.
She really duped him.
Ooh, he really did get got on that one.
Look, however it happened, if she sent him back to his actual headquarters or somewhere else and he got, we now get introduced to a new guy. Sean's losing it at this point because this show is so nuts. We're introduced to a new guy who's basically like a machine himself. Did this guy ever get a name?
Well, he's sort of the... He's like the driver.
He's a limo driver. He's like a chauffeur.
He's a limo driver for Mr. Big for Ravenclaw.
Yeah.
For Ravensclaw.
For Ravenclaw.
For Harry Potter. He's
Rowena Ravenclaw.
He's the Hufflepuff driver. And so presumably it's just the barbarian. Because that's, I believe that's the name of the vehicle itself is the barbarian.
And then the episode 2 where it's Unleash the Barbarian. Yeah.
Right, but we're never really given an idea of who this actual person is, because all they do at the end of this is just deploy the barbarian, and you're like, okay, I don't know who that is.
Look, all we know about this limo driver is that he is a murder fiend. Like, he wants to murder people.
He has been
Real
talking
bad.
about murdering Mr. Sly
Since day one.
Oh, like the entire episode.
If Sly screws up even a little bit, he looks back at his boss and he's like, you want me to dust him?
Yeah, right?
Ravenscroft's just like, slow down. We can still use this guy for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then he tries to
never
do it again, and he actually lets him go. He lets Sly go.
Yeah.
Which is like,
He just
what?
lets him, and says to him, we like something to the extent of, we should never meet up again, because if we do, it'll be very unfortuitous for you. And you're like, just kill him.
Yeah, just
You've given him like 3 or 4 attempts now to murder somebody.
Yeah.
He's failed. That's a loose end. I've watched enough procedural cop dramas to know that that's a loophole. Like, they're going to get him in there. You're going to get snatched up on some extra charges that you didn't even know existed.
Tax evasion, something stupid.
Yeah. They're going to RICO you somehow. Like, they're going to figure it out. Like, you're in trouble.
You're in
Just
trouble.
murder that. Dust him. Dust him. Get it
limo
over.
driver. And limo driver's huge, too. Dude's like 7 foot tall, big for no reason. I don't know why he chose to be a limo driver, but it's fine. He's more like personal security bodyguard kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now, if you're wondering, hey, when the fuck are you going to explain who's actually behind all this stuff? You are in luck, because Jennifer decides, while they all sit around a campfire at night, and this, again, gets crazier. While they sit around the campfire at night, she tells them the story of this rogue billionaire Ravenscroft, who is looking for... Does she tell them what they're looking for at this point? Or does she just reveal that it's Ravenscroft?
I think that she just reveals that it's Raven's Claw. Or,
doesn't matter. Bird Claw.
Bird Claw.
The Birdman.
She confesses that it's Bird Claw. She does not mention at this point anything even remotely similar to a Fountain of Youth.
Right. So at this point, Close McCall is now part of their group. And he's real dumb. And he keeps confusing Red and Redder, who is really upsetting the one who is not interested in him, which I can't remember which is which. So,
but the
I'm
other
just
one,
as dumb as Close McCall.
But the other one is still like, oh, I'm 100% on board with, like, you know, this relationship, which is kind of fun to see.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, it's cute. It's like this kind of nice thing in the middle of all this craziness, which again is about to go up to like 12, because what comes out of the darkness, Sean?
Oh my God! So out of this darkness comes a bunch of, again, like the people that we've had, the henchmen that we've had that have been on motorcycles have gone from regular black or red helmets.
Regular
They've
stuff.
gone into sort of like
Mad Max mode.
Like they've Mad Max to like Thor: The Dark World,
right?
To now suddenly
To
we're like
Children
in,
of the Corn.
Right. Now we're in like Norse, like murder wear. I don't even know what this is.
Well, it was swamp boat. Here's how I have it written down: swamp boat driving ninjas shooting flaming arrows. It's a bunch of swamp boats that come flying down, presumably like either Florida or Louisiana somewhere. Swamp boats with like ninjas wrapped with like white wrapping around their heads, and they're shooting these crazy bows with flaming arrows. Just like what? This was something that straight out of G.I. Joe, like some sort of like tactical team that just came out of nowhere. I've never seen swamp boat driving ninjas shooting flaming arrows though, so kudos to Bigfoot and the Muscle Machines.
So like we get to this point where, you know, we
it's another chase scene.
Right. We have another chase scene. This culminates in a showdown between finally the barbarian and Bigfoot, which you're just like, there is no possible way. This vehicle, this barbarian, they're in a very narrow pass.
Yeah. They kind of get hemmed in by like ninjas who actually are now shooting rocket arrows. So that's fun.
Sure.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So they are now narrowed in this pass. And so they've got very high cliff faces on the left and the right.
Yep.
So what happens is Yank is just like, get around this big fella. So everybody drives around the barbarian.
Right. I love that as they approach this thing, one of the either Red or Redder looks ahead, or maybe Jennifer, and says like, "What's that building up there?" And somebody's like, "That's not a building." Like very much like that's not a moon.
Yeah, not a Tuma.
It's not a space station. It is a space station. No, it's just this massive fucking truck in the middle of the road. Yeah.
So they get to this point where everybody else has driven past the barbarian except for Yank and Jennifer.
That's right.
Oh no, he's got these like spikes that come and shoot out of the hubcaps of his vehicle into the walls, making it like impassable.
Yeah, he can't go
He
anywhere.
has created an obstacle that they are not going to be able to get
well,
around.
wait, can't he just back up? It's not like there's going to be a trap door in the middle of the swamp that opens up behind him with a bunch of spikes in it.
Yeah, let's get a trapdoor with a bunch of spikes that opens up in the middle of this freaking place. Man,
that's good planning, though. Very specific planning.
We talk about this sometimes about like billionaires in these cartoons and like what they're able to accomplish. Like this billionaire is ridiculous.
But he's doing so much more than like real billionaires in the real world.
But he's like not getting anything accomplished.
No, but he's doing it in style.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's got a flourish about what he's doing.
He does,
so I mean,
man.
like, I get it. So like he goes through this whole thing, and finally the ultimate thing is again, this is a problem, and we have Yank Justice behind the wheel. So what is he gonna do?
Just drive straight into the fucker.
He's gonna strive directly into that problem, as if that is always gonna be the solution to everything that happens in his life.
Regardless that this thing is like 12 times the size of Bigfoot, probably has 12 times the horsepower. It's huge.
It's enormous.
It's huge.
It's fucking enormous. And he smashes right into it. No dent, no movement.
Nothing.
He gets pushed back into this pit of spikes.
Which was awesome. I didn't think that was going to happen. He just gets pushed back and flips over and lands on his roof. But then they didn't think any further past that, the bad guys. Like the pit actually worked. But then they didn't think beyond that. Because now the chauffeur, who happens to be driving this barbarian vehicle, has to get out of the car and go retrieve the map.
Right. And so the best part is that what does this have an opportunity for?
Hey, what is Yank? What does Yank do
more
again?
Munching knuckles.
Jump out of a truck and punch somebody.
He's out of his truck.
Yep.
He's throwing fists. Again, the chauffeur is like 7 feet tall.
He throws
He's
one
just
and it's just like not even. Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing.
Literally, the chauffeur just picks Yank up and is just like holding him in the air at one point. I was waiting for Jennifer to like, well, what does she do? I was waiting for her to do exactly what she did.
She gets out of the vehicle. She gets out of harm's way.
Yep.
She runs over to the barbarian truck that's there.
Grand Theft Auto 2.
She jumps. Yep. She's super good at it so far.
Yep.
She gets into the driver's seat, puts a crowbar that just happens to be
there. Sure. I usually keep crowbars right next to me on the driver's seat when I'm driving my
because
monster
every once
truck.
in a while, every once in a while I want to leverage my gas pedal all the way down to the floor.
Yeah, and then jump out of the car.
And then jump out.
Yep.
So that's exactly what she does. And in this moment, chauffeur is just like, no, barbarian. Runs after his vehicle, completely just leaves Yank.
Oh, it rolls over
Jennifer
the top of
alone.
both of them and passes the pit because it's so big. It's like straddles
the pit.
So
huge.
Yeah. So it just runs over the top of them. They're totally fine.
Ridiculous.
Except at this point, Bigfoot is like busted up. So the next time that we see him, they're towing it. So they're just towing a busted up Bigfoot along.
Yeah.
And because Bigfoot is so like busted up, they're not able to tow it really all that well. So they kind of like stop, have a breather. And this gives Redder a chance to show her little sexy animation walk. Head on back and ride with Close McCall. You like that little sexy walk?
You know what his pickup line was he gets her to entice her back?
I didn't write it down.
He's like, ride with me and we'll have a couple of ho-hos.
Oh, what the fuck?
That was the line.
Hey, man, whatever works. She didn't seem to mind.
Ride with me and we'll have a couple of ho-hos. These are like Hostess ho-hos, like the cupcakes.
Like we'll have a couple of Twinkies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of little Debbies.
Come on back. We'll have a couple of Drake's cakes.
He seems mentally challenged, but she seems to like it, so it's fine. Whatever works. They actually spent way more time animating her ass wiggle than they did animating Jennifer driving or running up and down that pile of cars in the beginning, which she just kind of fell off. So, but what happens at this point now? Because they're still on the run. She's out in the middle of the road walking. What could possibly go wrong at this point?
We have a bunch of construction vehicles that are up in front of them.
Of course.
Again, they've got Raven's knuckle all over them.
And they're cement trucks at this point, right?
And they're just dumping cement into the road, which suddenly everybody's now driving over time. Nobody said at any point in time, like, maybe we should avoid this hazard. Right. Again, drive your car. Guys, lesson learned from this show. Drive your car directly into your problems.
Into problems. In and over and through.
Yep.
Done.
That's how it works.
That's how it works.
So they do this. Everybody gets stuck.
Everybody. Even Redder, who's literally just like her feet are now stuck in this quick drying cement.
To then Close McCall jumps out to try to rescue her.
He's not real smart.
He gets stuck.
Right.
we have something that is very interesting. We have an instance of Close McCall using the word and phrase street pizza.
Interesting.
Which is something that we have not had since we watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That's right.
A couple months ago, when April O'Neil used the word getting flattened like street pizza.
It's a nice callback.
So
or
guys,
possibly call ahead because this was 85. So
yeah, we are still trying to figure out what street pizza is.
It was. We've moved back the origin story on this though. It at least started in 1985. And why does it come up? Because not only are there cement trucks, there are also steamrollers now closing in on a lot of them. Because if you're going to murder people, it's not enough to just trap them in the road. You need to flatten them into street pizza as well. Clearly.
Yeah.
So something inexplicable now happens again that actually involves Professor D. Finally, he gets to do something. He and his Orange Blossom, he basically like is talking to Orange Blossom. He's like, "Come on, girl, buck as hard as you can," and like just like rocks the car out of the cement. And at this point, like everybody gets superpowers, and like Close McCall is able to wiggle his feet out of the cement. Redder's able to wiggle her feet out of the cement. There's a really funny thing that happened. So obviously they didn't get flattened into street pizza. There's a really funny thing that happened though. When Redder was free, she's still pretending. She's like, "Oh, Close, help me! I can't get out of this cement." And her sister's yelling at her, and she's like, "Yo, quit this damsel in distress routine and let's get going because you clearly are free. You don't need him." I just thought that was kind of an odd, funny moment that, like, I don't know, just very strange.
It's so bizarre.
So bizarre. So once again, we're back in the garage, right?
Right, we're back in the garage. Guess what we finally find out now?
They jawing over a blowtorch?
Yeah, they jawing over a blowtorch.
We find out what the fuck this map is for.
Yeah, we finally fucking find out what this shit is for. We find out that it's finally for the Fountain of Youth.
Yeah, Fountain of Youth this whole time. So all your reckless endangerment of life has been in order to prolong your own.
Every murder you've committed has been for this reason.
This moment, Raven's Claw. The funny thing is, there's like a throwaway line that they say, "Man, now that Bigfoot's so much bigger, yada yada." I'm like, wait, what? It doesn't look any bigger. He just looks like whole again. But apparently, in this process, they've made Bigfoot bigger, which they never explain. I don't think you could just do that with a car.
I don't know how that's possible.
No, it's really not.
You know, unless you get a brand new car with a new chassis and a new body, and then you paint the words Bigfoot on the side of it again. That's how that works.
If you embiggen the original car, then it works, I guess. But they basically say, like, now that Bigfoot's bigger, it can go toe-to-toe with that barbarian or whatever. And they're like, oh, okay, we're clearly setting up another round of this. So, got it.
Yeah.
And I love that they cut back. They do, like, a flashback sequence in a cartoon, which you rarely see, especially in all, like, sepia tones and, like, weird narration of, like, Ponce de Leon's men in the jungles of, in, like, the swamp of Florida. And they just happened upon this finely crafted like mall fountain in the middle of the jungle, middle of the swamp. And this is the fountain.
The old became young. The weak became strong.
Nice. That guy didn't look any stronger when he just stood up straight. He just had better posture.
He just ditched his crutches.
Yeah, he just had better posture. Stand up straight. It's like getting healed at the mega church. Like, just stand up. You're fine.
You're good.
You're good. You can see.
Just settle down.
Relax. With the
you got excited. Nobody's gonna get upset.
With the spirit and all that. Throwing your cane. Ugh. Just relax.
The worst.
But then all of his people are murdered except for one guy who's basically just like, I'm just gonna draw like a really obscure map in a really obscure medieval Spanish language that only Jennifer McGraw can translate, and I'll just leave it here when I die. Oh God, I'm dead.
Just FYI, when my life flashes before my eyes, I definitely feel compelled to draw a map.
Yeah. In ye olde Spanish.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Go for it. Go whatever you want to do. Doesn't matter.
And presumably, like, the tribal people who were there, like, were trying to prevent other people from finding the location of this Fountain of Youth that they'd, honed out of marble and pulled from the local mall to set up in their own little village. So you'd think they would just take the map too, but whatever, we'll pass all that. So now we finally know what this whole thing is about. Does it matter?
Right. No, it doesn't because
matter.
You know why?
Why?
Barbarian is back.
Oh, there he is. Just showed up.
And it turns out that the fountain that we're going for, there are a bunch of booby traps.
Oh, we didn't even get. Oh, you got to talk about how they. So they use like this car magnet to pick up Professor D, in his orange blossom and drops him in a
Yeah.
car crusher, which you have to have a car crusher in any cartoon about cars.
Oh yeah.
You have to. And
So how do we get Professor D out of the car crusher?
Well, Bigfoot smashes into the barbarian again, so there you go. Just run through your problems. And then Redder finally gets to use her little tow hook and lasso technique, and she pulls down the entire control tower where Sly, who has somehow miraculously returned, is now operating the car crusher. And he dives to safety, ? As I wrote down, because it's a good 50 feet in the air. He's murder dead. And then Professor's fine.
I think my favorite line from this whole scene that goes on is it's just, Bruiser is back, looking to chomp chassis.
Ugh, that's really bad.
Is it worse though than Munching Knuckles?
Munching Knuckles is pretty bad. I'll tell you what's bad. This whole sequence where like they waste about 5 minutes of like Bigfoot backs up and then goes as fast as he can to smash into Barbarian. Then Barbarian backs up and he smashes the shit out of Bigfoot and sends him flying. The only way that Bigfoot's finally able to defeat him is by like tricking him by going around a pile of wrecked cars and then dropping on him from above like a wrestler going off the top rope or something into the middle of the ring. And then Barbarian gets crushed and explodes. Like this thing was made out of cardboard at this point.
So if you are still with us at this point,
good.
and you were just like, this cannot get any crazier.
We haven't even gotten to the Fountain of Youth and the booby traps.
All right, I'm gonna hit at a couple points that are gonna come up.
Oh, we gotta talk about the limo.
A polygraph built into a car. TX-41 tanks. Heat-seeking missiles. Yep. Spanish booby traps in the area that are all around the fountain.
Booty trap.
And Professor D saying the phrase, "Eat my diploma."
I missed that. How did I miss that?
Oh, no, I think that was Jennifer. I apologize. Maybe it was Jennifer's.
Well, either way, I missed that line. It's fantastic.
Saying, "Eat my diploma."
Wow. That's for me to know and you not to know. You're the worst, Jennifer. So actually, Jennifer gets kidnapped at this point by the chauffeur, just kind of like picks her up and throws her over his shoulder and takes her to the limo where she has this conversation with Ravenscroft, finally. And that's where this creepy-ass lie detector is built into the limo, which this limo, by the way, is engaged in a chase sequence. But the limo is basically a transformer.
Yeah.
It's basically a transformer. It turns into its own monster truck, which at that point, I thought that was kind of cool.
That was kind of sweet.
That was pretty sweet. It also, like, can deflate its front tires and just drop its front end to the ground so that it turns into a ramp so that when other cars hit it, they just go flying off into space, which is pretty fantastic. It's also got a missile launcher in its front end. It's pretty neat.
Incredible.
Pretty neat stuff.
Just incredible.
But yeah, eventually, like, they have this crazy chase and they all end up at the fountain. But the problem is the map shows that there's only one path to get there safely, and Ravenscroft has it. So you would think that Jennifer, like, had studied it. She should know where it is. But idiot Close McCall just, like, runs off and triggers it in his haste. So, of course, he's followed by the rest of these idiots, too. I gotta tell you, my favorite trap is the one that Professor D triggered. Do you remember what it was?
Is this the
giant statue of Christ that bends over and fires a massive crossbow bolt from his back?
That goes right through
yes.
the hood and engine of.
No, I love more
Orange Blossom Special.
I love more.
It destroys that car. It destroys that
Super
car.
Destroys that car. I just love more the visual of like Big Arms Jesus statue appearing and then bending over at the waist and launching a giant crossbow bolt through his car. You don't see that every day.
It was amazing.
Oh boy. So they've all been like trapped, and pretty much only Bigfoot is left and Ravenscroft's limo. So what happens when Ravenscroft actually gets to the fountain?
So he begins to drink.
Well, tell me what he looks like to begin with before he drinks. Because he even says this line to Jennifer. He's like, "You think I'm old and decrepit and gross now, but just wait till I get that drink."
Yeah. Wait till I get that drink.
Wait till I get you drunk.
Yeah. He's an older gentleman.
Yeah.
I would probably put him somewhere between like 65, 72.
What would you put his
range?
weight at? He's kind of like Kingpin size.
Yeah, he is definitely Fisk size.
Fisk-esque. Was he Asian?
Fisk-esque. I don't know. I got like a weird Godfather look from him.
But he also kind of looks like
I did not.
He looks
get
like
as much of
Oddjob from Bond.
He does. He definitely does a little
like
bit.
an old odd job. Yeah.
But it's like it's a weird odd job /
Fisk
Godfather /
/
Kingpin
Yeah.
like aggregate that just does not make like
Makes zero sense.
It seems like nobody pinned down what he actually does or why he's a billionaire. Nobody
No.
thought this through.
No.
Somebody just walked into a writer's room and they were just like, yeah, but he's a billionaire. And they're like, yeah, so like, what is he a billionaire? Like, how did he amass this fortune? They're like, no, you don't understand what I said. I said billionaire. And they're like, oh, like next character, Professor D. What's he a professor of? He's a professor. Did you not hear me? He's a professor.
Yeah. Hand grenades and monster truck.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Who's the next character? Yank Justice.
What? These writers' rooms, man, if I go back in time, I would love to be coked out and drunk in a cartoon writer's room in the 80s. It would have been just the best. I mean, I do it now, but it's not as much fun because I'm not getting paid for it.
I just think that I just think that people were so I don't know what kid was sitting around and was just like, Mom, look, if I don't have a monster truck cartoon that comes out in like the next couple months, I'm really gonna become a bad kid.
Yeah.
Like, no,
I'll never be a
you.
billionaire or president.
Yeah, a billionaire president.
President Bando.
President Billionaire.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
I like that too.
All right, so we've kind of mapped out what Ravenscroft looks like when he's old, but what happens when he drinks from the fountain of youth?
Old piece of shit.
Old shitty Ravenscroft.
Old shitty Ravenscroft. So he drinks this suddenly. Oh man. Ladies, what's up?
Little Tom Selleck action.
Debonair.
Little Burt Reynolds going on.
Ooh, he's got it. Mustache grows back in.
Got that mustache.
Hair grows full back in.
So strong.
He is just a buff looking ripped bro.
He's so buff, he doesn't even need chauffeur anymore. Because chauffeur's like, yeah, I got another young bro to hang out with and we're going to go murder the shit out of people. And Ravenscroft's like, I don't need your help anymore. I'm like super buff. Look at me.
Doesn't need that dumbass fedora, nor does he need that suit jacket. You know why? Unbutton the top couple buttons.
Chest hair.
Roll
Central.
up those sleeves, putting himself to work.
That's right. I'm going to run back in my limo monster truck and I'm going to get to work. He does leave his driver behind, which I love. And he knocks the shit out of Bigfoot, who basically, at this point, Yank writes Bigfoot and then just smashes the fountain. No reason. He's like, this is a problem for someone, so I'm going to destroy it. What?
Again, problem, I'm going to drive right into that problem.
He's like, it's not even literally my problem, but it's a problem, and I'm going to destroy it. And then somehow, okay, guys, if you've been listening since Seattle, Christ, he's driven over avalanches, trees that have fallen, gotten out of concrete, gotten out of literally everything. Acid. Do you remember the acid from an hour and a half ago? Got out of everything.
Dude, the desert. Do you remember the desert?
Do you remember anything? The cornfield? The swamp? He literally gets stuck in mud. He gets stuck in mud. I was so close to the end at this point that I had to see it through, but I'm like, you get stuck in mud that you made by smashing the fountain of youth. I can't do this anymore, Bigfoot. Our relationship is over. I can't handle this anymore. So he gets stuck in mud, but Ravenscroft comes and tries to like T-bone him. He actually spins out of control and crashes into like the foundation of the fountain, which for whatever reason triggers like one more trap, which is just like this giant medieval cannon that destroys the limo. But Ravenscroft is fine until what happens to him next? He gets too far from that fountain.
Turns out hubris was his undoing.
How about that? This whole time.
Who would have guessed? Turns out that the Fountain of Youth only has a temporary effect.
Yeah.
And he begins to regress into his older bag of shit state.
As he's running through the swamp.
Yep.
Vowing revenge over his shoulder.
I mean, he's either going to escape or the gators will have a nice dinner.
Which, I'll tell you what, at this point, we like flash in front of Ravenscroft, and there's just like a bunch of gray, for whatever reason, alligators that are like slowly coming through the water towards him. Chomping, just like biting at the air. Which is a little disturbing, because he's probably dead in gator bait at this point.
So, I just, again, Dave has refocused and said, if you've been with us from Seattle, all right, we are now
it's been a ride.
We are now at the end of this ride, Or are we?
Oh,
Because
I don't know.
suddenly, back in front of the Fountain of Youth, Close is just like,
Well,
you know
like,
what?
what has happened at this point? Like, Jennifer is kind of pissed because the Fountain of Youth
Well,
is
everybody,
ruined, right? And all their
Fountain of
trucks are
Youth is
fucked
destroyed.
up.
Yeah, everything's screwed
Everything's
up.
fucked up.
McCall,
Yeah.
Close McCall, is just like, you know what? I wish I had never paired up with you guys. I wish I had never met you. I wish I had never gotten.
He was
I'm
so
like,
positive
dude,
before.
I was like, you are so close to smashing a cute redhead.
don't
I was
fuck it
like,
up.
just what are you doing, bro? Come on.
Give her that ho-ho talk again.
Yeah, come on. She's already on board.
Yeah.
Just be yourself, bud. You know? So all of a sudden, a fissure. I'm not lying.
No.
A fissure.
I like that you got
opens-
so defensive. Like, people were like, no,
Yeah.
I believe everything else you've said up to this point. I don't believe this happened.
I call bullshit
I call
right
bullshit
here.
on a magic earthquake.
So at this point, a fissure opens in the ground, all right? And it has like almost rainbow colored
light.
sort of
yeah.
like I want to say what was it like?
It's like the
Aurora
northern
Borealis,
lights. Exactly.
like lights that are coming up from the ground, and Close falls into it. And you're just like, you know what? They've murdered everybody else in this show.
Might as well kill this
Why
goof.
not one of the main characters? Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
All right. He falls in.
Listen, you as a kid, you've sat here for the last 8 weeks. This is 2 months of your life you've watched this bullshit, and this is about to end. So you are like glued to this television.
He falls into this pit, and you're just like, oh no, what happened?
Close McCall.
Turns out it's filled with treasure.
Oh yeah, like pristine,
Brimming with treasure.
pristine, glowing. Chests are open and full and ready for you to take advantage of. Just like every kid's dream. It's like the Goonies, like stumbling into the treasure cave or something.
Exactly.
You know? It's just like that.
And so this is the moment where you're just like, this can't get any more fucking insane.
You're like
all
30
right?
seconds from the end of this entire series at this point.
Right.
Too.
At this moment where everybody's just like, we're rich.
Split it up.
And everybody and you hear Professor D do a little bit of commentary. He just goes, I can't wait to get my hands on that. And you're just like,
Professor D, you've said 3 things this entire time. That's what you're gonna close on?
Such a good dude. So he's going, like, you have this moment where suddenly Yank turns away from everything.
Walks away.
And begins to walk back to Bigfoot, not stuck in the mud anymore.
Yeah, totally fine. Dried up. All good.
So, number one, that's what's confusing.
That's
okay?
what's confusing?
No. Let's get into it.
Okay.
So he decides and tells Jennifer, who's just like, don't you want some of this treasure?
Yeah.
Like, don't you want to be a part of this? And he's like, nah, I reckon that being rich really isn't for me.
That's right. Now, he has said in the past, he said, no matter what happens, I'm probably just going to ride off on my own. And that was kind of like a weird statement back he made like a couple episodes ago. But he did preface that earlier.
So, like, he makes this statement. All right. Now, he's made a lot of statements in this show.
Hand grenades.
We understand about, like, the 3 things that he's passionate about: Bigfoot, his team, and freedom.
Yep.
And in this moment, he's accomplishing 2 of the 3 objectives that he stated for himself, because he is leaving his team behind. He is done with them.
But he's free now.
Right?
He's a free man. Do what he wants.
But he's free. But he's not really, because the person who got him into all of this trouble in the first place and didn't provide any of the information that was critical along this entire journey is just like, hey, you mind if I come with you? And he's like,
she's like, where are you going? He's like, just gonna do some driving. She's like, some driving sounds good. And that's it. Literally ride into the sunset.
Yeah. And then just
fucking.
And that's it.
Dude.
And that's it.
Dude. How frustrating would that have been if you were like a decently minded kid at this point? And you're like, that's it? These yokels get a bunch of treasure, but they're stuck in a swamp with broken ass cars, and the one working car they have just drives away and leaves their ass behind.
Oh my God.
And the part that drove me craziest, right? We never learned anything about Jennifer. The Wikipedia says she's a grad student. Fine. Grad student of what?
Where?
Don't know. Where did she get the map? Probably stole it. That's fine. She runs away and hides this thing randomly with strangers and then chases them across the country to do what? Find the fountain and then just be like, meh, all right. My life's work is pretty much over, so I'm just going to ride around with this dude from now on. Like, what have you done with your life? Why have we been following you for 9 weeks?
This is also what's challenging to me, is that Yank Justice is not necessarily a man who's going to be tied down to a relationship.
Hell no.
So I have to think that at some point in time, all right, he's going to get frustrated with his relationship with Jennifer.
Guaranteed. And it happened as soon as she got in the car.
Yeah, right? I think that we can establish that Yank is a loner, that Yank is somebody who doesn't want to have those interpersonal relationships. Some people are just like, yeah, I really want. Yank is fine putting that aside. Yeah. That is not of interest to him, which is scary for me, because if we've seen anything about how Yank handles his problems, he's going to kill her with Bigfoot. Like, he's going to run her over.
I hope there's a deleted scene where he just like wanders into the Fountain of Youth, or like goes up to one of the dead soldiers and just takes a hand grenade off of him and just puts it in his pocket. And then late at night when Jennifer's sleeping, he just slowly rolls it over to her cot and then just drives off in Bigfoot and hears the explosion. Finally got that hand grenade.
Finally got that hand grenade.
Oh boy, when I needed it.
God.
Bigfoot After Dark. What a mess.
We're done.
Oh man, that was a marathon. But it was
Holy
great. Like, there was so
shit.
much fun and bonkers stuff that happened that we really didn't want to skip over any of it. And we also saved you from watching the actual cartoon itself.
By making you make a larger time investment.
But hopefully you had some laughs along the way and are now a professor of hand grenades. All right, any final thoughts before we get into the one and only user review that I found out there?
Let's do this review.
You don't have any other thoughts you want to talk about yet? Or not till recommendations, maybe? I'll give you a chance to get your thoughts together.
Nah, I'm gonna tap out for a
All
minute.
right, that's good.
I'm gonna take my keys out of the ignition for a spell.
Just idle over there for a little while.
Yeah.
All right, so this review is from Sibisi73 from the UK, who says, "Try this for size." Gives this show a 3 out of 10. Bigfoot and the Muscle Machines was one of those 80s cartoons, part of a seemingly endless stream from the US that pitted a group of superheroes, not really, against a scene-chewing bad guy. Okay, that's accurate. It's all rather predictable, is it? But makes a change from the usual space setting by having humans battling humans, and Yank Justice's sadistic streak is a bonus. Are we going to talk or munch knuckle? The animation is shoddy, though, and it's all a bit tedious after Bigfoot has got out of each predicament by driving over everything in sight. Probably better in bite-sized episodes rather than this 50-minute marathon. I'll give you that, Sabisi. To say that it's predictable is nuts. There's nothing predictable about this show. Nothing. Except that they're just going to smash through everything. But that's about it. All right, buddy. Any final thoughts for this show before we get into recommendations here?
Oh, no. This show is a predictable fever dream through and through.
I can't wait to re-experience it in my nightmares tonight. It's going to be fun.
Oh, God.
Where did this one come from, by the way? Do you happen to have that up in front of you?
Yeah, I do.
This was a suggestion,
This came as a suggestion because we are doing suggestions this month. From you, the listener. So we will be handling and doing more suggestions in the future. Right. So if you have them, please let us know. But this came from Van DeWitt via Facebook. So, for better or for worse, thanks, Van.
Thank you so much, man. We hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you laughed along with us and aren't too upset with us. But if you are, let us know on Facebook. I'm sure we'll have a nice chat about this. Okay, do you recommend this show or does it get the dip? And remember, listeners, the dip from Roger Rabbit. If we give it the dip, that means it erases this cartoon from existence forever.
I'm not giving this show the dip. Okay. I don't know that as a reasonable, sane human being, though, that I can recommend other people watch this. Okay. Unless, of course, and I'll always put this caveat, unless, of course, this is something that you're really, if you're really passionate about watching insanity, then by all means, do it up, go bowling. But holy crap, there's nothing predictable. This show from start to finish is crazy town.
Another 90s band, if I remember correctly.
Oh,
or is that a 2000s band? Doesn't matter. I'm not giving it the dip, and it might be the Mountain Dew speaking, but I am going to recommend this just because you've never seen anything like this in your life. I was sitting here watching this late last night, and I watched the first installment, and I was just like, fuck, I've got to see what happens next. And it keeps getting crazier. The cool thing is that you can watch this on YouTube in like 4 separate segments. We'll put a link up. And it just like every chunk just keeps getting crazier. Like you go from regular kind of chase sequences to swamp boat riding ghost ninjas firing flaming arrows. I mean, What more do you want from a cartoon? It's not good. It's not good. I'm not going to give it like a 10 out of 10, but I will say check it out because it's just completely bonkers. That's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. All right, buddy. Thanks for hanging in there with me.
Thank you.
What are you up to over the road? What are you up to? Tank bicep and the glamour muscle.
Oh man. As always, I do live improv comedy in the DC area. You can check out more information about upcoming shows, including the one that I'm going to be in that's called POTUS at witdc.org. I am an organizer and an executive producer for a comedy festival that is in DC that will happen in November that is called the District Improv Festival. This year, we're celebrating our 4th annual District Improv Festival, and you can find more information, and tickets are now available at districtimprov.org. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Sean Paul Ellis.
Fantastic. We'll have all that information up on our website, as well as my contact information. You can find me on Twitter at DrClawMD. You can also find me over at Collider.com, Nerdist.com, and DaveTrumbore.com. If you're interested in finding out more about our show, you can find us over on our website, SaturdayMorningCartoons.com. Remember, it's a morning with a U. You can find us on Twitter at MorningTunes. Check out Sean's handiwork on our Instagram page, Instagram.com/SaturdayMorningCartoons. You guys have been fantastic on our Facebook page. We're almost up to 3,000 likes, which is insane. I don't know anywhere near 3,000 people. I don't think I've ever met total in my life 3,000 people, which is sad, but also awesome for our show. You can also watch us over on our YouTube page, and feel free to subscribe there. You'll get these the video version of the podcast each and every week. If you prefer the free audio weekly version, you can download it on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. As always, if you'd like to send us a suggestion for a future episode, you can do so at our email, SaturdayMorningCartoons@gmail.com. Man, that's going to do it for us tonight. That was a long one. We thank you guys for sticking around with us. Guess what, man? Coming up in October.
Oh, what's October?
It's Spooky Town.
Oh, it sure is.
Oh, spooky. It's my favorite time of year. We're going to hit some other crazy shows. Some which we've seen before, some which we haven't, so it's always going to be a surprise. But we're going to get into some Monster Madness month coming up in October. So hopefully get you guys in the Halloween spirit, and we'll see you again. So again, thanks, Sean, for taking this ride across the country with me.
Vroom, vroom.
Tank bicep. Vroom, vroom. We will see you guys next time. Thanks for listening.
Hey, everybody. Thanks a lot for listening to Saturday Morning Cartoons. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to transform and roll out.